It's there you go. Once again. Hang on a second. From a secret, undisclosed location hidden somewhere deep in the bowels of historic downtown St. John's comes In the Library of Graphic Literature with your host, me, Walls Ryan. So this is a special Saturday night version. We didn't get our books this week, and I was actually just gonna postpone it until next week until we got the entire complement. But we did get some DC books in, and among them was Legion book, which I will speak of in a few minutes. And I thought to myself, you're a big Legion fan anyway. As a matter of fact, you're a huge Legion fan, so I figured, why not just do a special Legion of Superheroes edition? Bum-bum. So here it is. Okay, so what I did was I dug out my collection of Legion of Superhero books. Now I start here with the Silver Age Legion of Superhero Omnibuses, volumes 1, 2, and 3. Then I jumped into the archives from where the omnibuses lead off. I do have the other archives, but I just pull these out. And then a couple of other titles leading all the way down to Legion of Superheroes 5 years later, which is where we'll more or less end. I mean, there's stuff that came after that, but I want to look at the historical stuff. So, that being said, let's begin. Woo! And we jump, 1,000 years, I guess, into the future. The Legion of Superheroes were created by Otto Binder, or Binder, whatever you want to call him, and Al Plastino in Adventure Comics number 247, I do believe. It was April 1958. Yeah, 58. And, it was just a quick appearance with Superboy and all that, but they proved popular, so they kept bringing them back, and which is in this issue here. As a matter of fact, let me show it to you here with the classic. There, that one there. So that was Plastino, and he did. I think he did the. Well, the second one they started with George Papp, and then Jim Mooney came on. And it was Papp and Mooney for the most part, and then they brought in Kurt Swann. But Mooney did a lot of these early ones along with John Ford. Let's see who else here am I forgetting. But I think that's about it. Yeah, John Ford, Kurt Swann, Ford and Swann more or less took over from the most part from looking here. And let's have a look here. And they started bringing more and more heroes. They had the first original 3, which were Cosmic Boy, Lightning Boy, who became Lightning Lad, and Saturn Girl. And they kind of expanded from there, and it seemed like every time the Legionnaires showed up, there were more and more of them, which was what I think attracted me to them. Cosmic Boy went from his purple thing there to his more or less pink and white outfit, very unusual choice there. And Supergirl, of course, she joined in with them. like I say, George Pep and them, they were called, out of this era, my favorite, well, I like the Jim Mooney stuff, but my favorite, of course, was the, they brought in the adult Legion, the Legion of Supervillains. That's in Superman there. Kurt Swann doing that. And here we go. Triplicate Girl, Sun Boy, and then they had the Legion of Substitute Heroes, which were all the heroes who just weren't good enough to make it to the Legion, or had powers too stupid for them. And Jimmy Olsen, of course, of course, he shows up. All kinds of different powers, and he ends up being part of the Legion of Superheroes. Who didn't it back in those days? Then Mon-El joined, who was supposedly originally was thought to be the brother of Superboy, but turned out he was just from another planet. He became sort of like Superboy 2 for that. Anyway, it became more and more popular. And this is the so, and along they went, just plugging along, having fun, just like any bunch of teenagers. With adventure number, it was 346, marked the ironically for a group of teenagers. With 346, marked the, oh my god, well, I better run, they've cottoned on to me. No. The ironic thing was with issue 346 of Adventure Comics, marked the arrival of a young Jim Shooter, who came on board and began to write for them, and at the tender age of 14 years old. Legend has it that when they called his house to arrange payment, that was when they realized that this Jim Shooter, who was writing their comics, was not an adult, but a kid. They ended up having to negotiate with his mom and all that, and it went on from there. He for a kid of 14, he did a pretty good job. Now, of course, leading through all this here was, like I say, just more things with they got more and more members. Let's see. Lightning Lad lost an arm due to I can't remember what it was now at the time, and then he supposedly died at one point. Let's see what other cool things were happening back then. Starfinger, who turned out to be Lightning Lad. Don't let me spoil it for you. And then Lana Lang. I'm going to go get up and show you this up close. Lana Lang became Insect Queen, and she joined in the adventure. And here's the menace of the sinister super babies. And then Computer came along, and this is when killed off one of the first legionnaires that I can remember being killed off. Was killed off one of Computer killed off Triplicate Girl killed off one of her bodies, so she became Duo Damsel. This was actually one of my early favorites too. The was the Legionnaire who killed Starboy. Ends up killing this guy to save his life, and they put him on trial, and in the end he ends up going with the Legion of Substitute Heroes, and Dream Girl leaves with him, all with a bit of a snit, and then so along they went. And this was another one of mine, the super favorites of mine, Super ILOGL, where they're part of a taken prisoner. And they began to get better and better. Then Pharaoh Lad comes along. There's Superboy. And like I say, they've become very established by this point. Oh yeah, and of course, Superboy and Supergirl and Brainiac 5 were always a thing. And they left and they were replaced by these two people in armor, which turned out to be them. And so on and so forth. And then came the Fatal Five. I always liked the Fatal Five. They were cool, especially Validus, which you'll learn more about what happened with him later on. And then along came one of my favorite issues. This one, I had this one as a kid. And this I always liked. One of the Legionnaires on this cover will die. You'll be shocked by the identity of the doomed Legionnaire. And I don't think I'm, blowing it by telling you that it was Pharaoh Lad, in the end, who grabbed the bomb and flew into the Sun Eater, igniting it, killing him and everyone involved. And then there was an adult Legionnaire story. And of course the ghost of Pharaoh Lad will pop up every so often. And this is the era of, like I say, of Kurt Swann, one of my favorite artists of the Legion. Oh, now I'll go through this one quickly here. And then it moved along and along. Some things changed, some things didn't. A few extra Legionnaires, Timberwolf added, Chemical King, blah 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 blah. Karate Kid, of course, way back, thanks to Jim Shooter. And Bouncing Boy, of course. And Jack Abel, and even took over the inking there, as you can see. And as it went along, it, like I say, and there's another one with Jack Abel. I think George Tuska did some art there. Anyway, so Legion continued in Adventure Comics until issue 380. Then they moved on over to Action as a backup feature from 377 to 392 of Action Comics. That was in 69 and 70. And I think most of those are within these here. Yeah, as a matter of fact, here's some of the last ones there. Hang on a sec. Action Comics, yeah, Jim Shooter was still doing it. Win Mortimer, Murphy Anderson. Shooter continued to do it and then handed over to Kyrie Bates and E. Nelson Bridwell. And that was, it was okay, right? But then came my favorite era, one of my favorite eras of the Legion, and that started with because they moved to Superboy in 1971 with Superboy number 172, and let's see if we can. I think 172 is even included in this. Superboy. Yeah, here we this was George Tuska, and Tuska stayed on it for a few episodes. Tuska stayed on it, and then I think it was with issue 184, which is in here somewhere. Yep, 184. Let's find this here because this is a very important turning point. And this is a new tale of the Legion of Superheroes. One Legionnaire must go. Boom, 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 boom. And this marked the arrival of Dave Cochran on the scene. And this just about most of this volume 10 of the archives is Dave Cochran. And he was, of course, was most famous, I guess, or became most famous later on as having reinvented the X-Men with Len Wein and later Chris Claremont with the new X-Men. This is the man. You look at these great costumes. He would go on to create like the costumes of Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Phoenix, the new Cyclops Vise or whatever. But he really revived this was the start of the real revival of the Legion. He gave them, cool new outfits. And his art was spectacular. I loved his artwork. And now there you still see some of the old costumes. And a couple of these were with Murphy Anderson. And then, okay, here you see a lot of them are still wearing some of their older ones. There's good old Monel. I always thought was kind of cool. And then here we are back again with the Kyrie Bates story. And this has to do with Dr. Regulus. Beautiful art. I loved Cochran when he inked himself. He was one of my favorites. And of course here we start to see there's the new Karate Kid. The new outfits start to appear there, including the Chameleon Boy and Duo Damsel, Wildfire, or Erg One as he was known there. And that was great, including a really cool outfit too for Timberwolf. Here you start to see more and more of the revamped costumes for a lot of them. I gotta say one thing about Cochran. He could really really do some great costume work. And it's around here that I finally came in. And as a matter of fact, it's with this issue 200. I can remember buying this at a pharmacy just up the road from us here. And it was one of my favorites. And this is when I truly got back into comics full time, buying them full time and collecting, and just went wild from there. So love Dave Cochran's work. But now look at there, see? Now there's a wedding. And goes on with it, and then what's his name comes back. Yeah. Here we go. And this this is a story by pencils by Dave Cochran and inks by Mike Grell. So this is the start of the end for, and there's some of the new costumes for Dave Cochran. This being one of his last great issues for them. And Cochran went on to DC from there, and Grell began his run on it, and you can find it all in here. And this was, I liked Mike Grell stuff. This is, starts out, of course, with he started out with the death of Invisible Boy at the hands of Validus. And he's one of these heroes that you never seen him brought back per se, right? But yeah, I liked there's more of those cool costumes. I drew and redrew these so many times. Anyway, went along. The Grell era was pretty cool. Great stories, stuff like that. Element Lad, trying to kill off Roxas. And like I say, great run. Oh, let me take this seat again. This is taking a lot out of me, talking Legion. And with 231, it officially became Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, and they went on. This is more Grell stuff, which I had, and the Karate Kid solo series by Stanton, I do believe. Stanton or Estrada? To me, I can't remember for the life of me now that I think about it. I guess they don't put it in here. No, I guess they just put the cover. Okay. Anyway, they had other people start to come in then too as Grell moved on, and they put in James Sherman had a go at it. And Jim Shooter too had come back and was writing some of the stuff for them background then too. Let's see, and in the end, I can't remember if it's in this one. I think it might be in the next one. You know, I mean, these were good enough. They had Sherman, Nasser, Mike Nasser did some stuff which was kind of cool. Then they moved on into, now these are sort of the newer editions. This kind of picks up where those left off, and this was basically the Sherman era, and then a lot of other artists came along. This actually was Mike Grell one. And Tosca came back for one there, as I can see there. James Sherman, I actually liked his Legion stuff. And Mike Nasser's, his stuff was pretty cool. But he was doing backup features, unfortunately. Rick Bryant did the inks on some of that. Not much more. I bet you good folks see it here too. This was fabulous work by, I like Nasser's stuff. He was really cool. More Sherman stuff. And Grell. Here's Dawnstar. She came along there. And eventually, sooner or later, Grell moved off the title. And this was some good stuff there. This was actually one of my personal favorites, was this issue here. This was this one here. This was a Jim Sterling issue of the Legion. Loved his stuff. Finished off by Joseph Rubinstein, but great issue. One of the classic latter Legion ones from that era. Always did love a good Sterling story. And so the Legion sort of went back into I mean, they had their own title then for a while, and sort of went back and forth. There's a Jim Sherman one. I do believe this is that the computer one? Oh, Earth War, which was pretty good, actually. And along there. Like I said, here's the Dominators there. Joe Stanton did a bit of time on it. Actually, this looks like a Starling too. Actually, maybe it even just, I could tell, just, yeah. Steve Apollo. Yeah, right. Anyway, so that went along. You know, the Superboy and the Legions just limped along, and and I think then came Giffen, and Giffen did the Great Darkness Saga, which of course was one of the best uses of Darkseid at the time. And it was a great story, great art. Definitely a story worth reading. This was when Paul Levitz got together with him, and they did some great Legion superheroes from there on in. Then there was the Curse, which continued on from the Great Darkness Saga. So, and this was also a good series too. But now we'll end off with one of my favorites from that era. Was of course, and this was the book that came out this week that started all this. Was a Legion, and it's heavy. 5 years later, check out this baby. And I mean, the whole look was a lot grimmer. It was 5 years later. The Legion had broken up. The Dominators were in charge of Earth, and it seemed just to get worse and worse for them from there on in. But a great storyline. So if you're a Legion fan, you got to get this book. 5 years later, to me, was one of the best. Legion stories since, well, definitely since the Great Darkness Saga. And I mean, there have been several reboots and stuff since, including Bendis's. And that brings us today.